Albert Shearding by Edgar Lee Masters. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Jonas Keene thought his lot a hard one, because his children were all failures. But I know of a fate more trying than that. It is to be a failure while your children are successes. For I raised a brood of eagles who flew away at last, leaving me, a crow, on the abandoned bough. Then, with the ambition to prefix honorable to my name, and thus to win my children's admiration, I ran for county superintendent of schools, spending my accumulations to win, and lost. That fall my daughter received first prize in Paris for her picture entitled The Old Mill. It was of the water mill before Henry Wilkin put in steam. The feeling that I was not worthy of her finished me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Asinine Election by Heinrich Heine. Read for LibriVox.org by Sandra. Being tired of freedom for some time past, the Beasts' Republic decided to be with a single ruler at last, as its absolute head provided. Each kind of beast prepared for the strife. Electoral billets were written. Intrigues on every side were rife. With party zeal all were bitten. By long-eared gentry at its head, the Asses' Committee was aided. Cockades, whose colours were black, gold, and red, they boastfully paraded. A small party there was of friends of the horse, who yet were afraid of voting, so greatly they dreaded the outcry coarse, the long-eared party denoting. But when one of them ventured the horse to name as a candidate, greater and greater waxed the noise, and an old long-ear, to his shame, shouted out, "Thou art only a traitor! A traitor art thou! In thy veins doth not flow one drop of ass's blood proper. No ass art thou, and I almost know that a foreign mare was thy dropper. From the zebra perchance thou art sprung, thy striped hide quite answers the zebra's description. The nasal twang of thy voice is allied to the Hebrew as well as Egyptian. And if not a stranger thou art, thou must own a dull ass of an intellect paltry. The depths of ass nature to thee are unknown, thou hear'st not its mystical psaltery. But with sweet stupefaction my soul drinks in that sound which all others surpasses. An ass am I, and each hair in the skin of my tail the hair of an ass is. I am not a papist, I am not a slave. A German ass am I solely, the same as my fathers, who all were so brave, so thoughtful, demure, and so holy. They were not addicted to doing ill, or practising gallantry gaily, but trotted off with the sack to the mill in frolicsome fashion daily. Our fathers still live. In the tomb only lie their skins, their mortal covering. Their happy spirits high up in the sky complacently o'er us are hovering. Ye glorified asses, ye need not doubt that we fain would resemble you ever, and from the path that duty points out we'll swerve a finger's breadth never. Oh, what a delight an ass to be, from such long-eared worthies descended. From every housetop I'd fain shout with glee, "An ass was I born! How splendid!" The noble jackass who gave me birth was of genuine German extraction. From my mother, a German ass of worth, I sucked milk with great satisfaction. An ass am I, and fully intend, like my fathers, who now are departed, to stand by the asses, yes, stand to the end by the asses, so dear and true-hearted. And since I'm an ass, I advise you all round to choose your king from the asses. A mighty ass kingdom we thus will found, they being the governing classes. We all are asses, hee-haw, hee-haw. As ostlers we will not demean us. Away with the horses! Long live, hurrah, the king of the asinine genus! Thus spake the patriot, Through the hall the asses cheered him proudly. They all, in fact, were national, and with their hoofs stamped loudly. An oaken wreath on the orator's head they put as a decoration. He wagged his tail, though nothing he said, with evident gratification. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
At Midnight by George Logan Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. The pallid moonlight through the casement drifts, a sea of silver-breaking spray that falls shimmering down the darkly shadowed walls and oaken floor. Outside, the night wind lifts a rustling branch against the pane. It shifts the shadow to and fro, and faintly calls in soft sea tones, learned where the slow foam crawls in serpent-wreathed coils through craggy rifts. O crooning west wind, dost thou bear to me no greeting from one loved and far away? Is there no message in thy whispering to me awake, waiting to hear from thee one tender prayer that her dear lips might say ere slumber shadowed her with drowsy wings? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Autumn Flood by Joseph Ashby Sterry. Read for LibriVox.org by Ted Hanlon. The Autumn Flood. In a big autumn flood it was once, so they say, that Twickenham ferry was nigh swept away, and the prospective diner from Petersham side stood aghast as he gazed on the swift rolling tide. Though his temper was short, he omitted to swear, but his grievance was voiced to a popular air. From Petersham came I to Twickenham ferry. There's plenty of mud, the stream running down. I see not a boat, so I'm not feeling merry, though asked out to dinner at Twickenham town. They dine at, I'm certain, 7:45. I gaze at the mudbanks bemoaning my fate. There is not a skiff, or a punt, or a wherry, or chance of my dining at Twickenham town. But where, may I ask now, is Twickenham ferry? There's plenty of mud, the stream running down. I'm getting a hungered and savage feel very. They're punctual diners in Twickenham town. I cannot get over, however I may wish. They've finished the soup, they're beginning the fish, and had a few glasses of excellent sherry. I would I were dining in Twickenham town. Dear me, it is odd, where is Twickenham ferry? There's plenty of mud, the stream running down. Unless my dress suit in the torrent I bury, I cannot get over to Twickenham town. I can't understand it, but something is wrong. Does Twickenham ferry exist but in song? As likely am I to be dancing in Kerry as dining this evening in Twickenham town. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Benediction by Harry Weiss. Read for LibriVox.org. There's a memory that sweetens my father's last adieu. There's a solemn thought that deepens when I think of him anew. 'Tis the blessing that he uttered when I took his last farewell, the priestly threefold blessing our people know so well. Ah, bless thee, Lord, and keep thee, his countenance e'er shine, and gracious be he to thee, and give thee peace and thine. His hands were spread in blessing above my bowing head, his blessing lives within me, his spirit is not fled. The dear old Jewish custom made many a stout heart. I always felt the better when thus I used to part. And though he is gone forever to sleep beneath the sod, I can still hear him lifting the selfsame prayer to God. Ah, bless thee, Lord, and keep thee, his countenance e'er shine, and gracious be he to thee, and give thee peace and thine. His countenance be lifted, and may he grant thee peace, the goal of earthly living, and heaven's own surcease. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Black and White by H. Abbott. Read for LibriVox.org by Rachel May Ferryman. I met a man along the road to Withensea. Was ever anything so dark, so pale as he? His hat, his clothes, his tie, his boots were black as black could be, and midst of all was a cold, white face, and eyes that looked wearily. The road was bleak and straight and flat to Withensea. Gaunt poles with shrilling wires their weird did dree. On the sky stood out, on the swollen sky, the black blood veins of tree after tree, as they beat from the face of the wind which they could not flee. And in the fields along the road to Withensea, swart crows sat huddled on the ground disconsolately, while overhead the sea-mews wheeled and skirled in glee. But the black cows stood and cropped where they stood, and never heeded thee, O dark pale man with the weary eyes on the road to Withensea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Down by the Sally Gardens by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Down by the Sally Gardens my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs, but I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Carmen 57 by Catullus. Read for LibriVox.org by Nate GDM. A comely couple of shameless catamites, Mamurra and Caesar, Pathics both. Nor needs amaze, they share like stains, this urban, the other Formian, which stay deep marked, nor can they be got rid of. Both morbidly diseased through Pathic vice, the pair of twins lie in one bed, alike in erudition, one not more than other the greater, greedier adulterer, allied rivals of the girls. A comely couple of shameless catamites. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Carmen 70 by Catullus. Read for LibriVox.org by Nate GDM. No one, saith my lady, would she rather wed than myself, not even if Jupiter's self crave her. Thus she saith. But what a woman tells an ardent amorist ought fitly to be graven on the breezes and in running waters. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From a Car Window by Ruth Guthrie Harding. Read for LibriVox.org by Sandra. Pines and a blur of lithe young grasses, gold in a pool from the western glow, spread of wings where the last thrush passes, and thoughts of you as the sun dips low. Quiet lane and an irised meadow, how many summers have died since then? I wish you knew how the deepening shadow lies on the blue and green again. Dusk and the curve of field and hollow, etched in grey when a star appears. Sunset, twilight, and dark to follow, and thoughts of you through a mist of tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Crystal Globe by Preston Langley Hickey. LibriVox.org. O mystic crystal in whose depths I see strange visions, pictures, things that could not be, and yet I ponder as I sit and gaze into the depth of that transparent maze, what mental action is it that has wrought these fantasies with which my brain is fraught? For fantasies they are, and nothing more. Their mysteries I fain would now explore. But who can delve the secrets of a dream? For foolish, simple, complex though they seem, there is that little something which they hold, that science unto man has never told. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Description of London by John Banks. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Houses and churches mixed together, streets unpleasant in all weather, prisons, palaces, contiguous, gates, a bridge, the Thames irriguous. Gaudy things enough to tempt ye, showy outsides, insides empty, bubbles, trades, mechanic arts, coaches, wheelbarrows, and carts, warrants, bailiffs, bills unpaid, lords of laundresses afraid, rogues that nightly rob and shoot men, hangmen, aldermen, and footmen, lawyers, poets, priests, physicians, noble, simple, all conditions, worth beneath a threadbare cover, villainy bedaubed all over, women black, red, fair, and grey, prudes, and such as never pray, handsome, ugly, noisy still, some that will not, some that will, many a beau without a shilling, many a widow not unwilling, many a bargain if you strike it. This is London. How d'ye like it? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Despairing Lover by William Walsh. Read for LibriVox.org by Josh Oswald. Distracted with care for Phyllis the fair, since nothing could move her, poor Damon, her lover, resolves in despair, no longer to languish, nor bear so much anguish, but mad with his love, to a precipice goes, where a leap from above would soon finish his woes. When in rage he came there, beholding how steep the sides did appear, and the bottom how deep, his torments projecting, and sadly reflecting, that a lover forsaken a new love may get, but a neck when once broken can never be set, and that he could die whenever he would, but that he could live but as long as he could, how grievous soever the torment might grow, he scorned to endeavor to finish it so, but bold unconcerned at thoughts of the pain, he calmly returned to his cottage again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dole of the King's Daughter by Oscar Wilde. Read for LibriVox.org by Cat. Breton. 7 stars in the still water, and 7 in the sky. 7 sins on the king's daughter, deep in her soul to lie. Red roses are at her feet, roses are red in her red gold hair, and oh, where her bosom and girdle meet, red roses are hidden there. Fair is the knight who lieth slain amid the rush and reed. See the lean fishes that are fain upon dead men to feed. Sweet is the page that lieth there, cloth of gold is goodly prey. See the black ravens in the air, black, oh black as the night are they. What do they there, so stark and dead? There is blood upon her hand. Why are the lilies flecked with red? There is blood on the river sand. There are 2 that ride from the south and east, and 2 from the north and west. For the black raven the goodly feast, for the king's daughter rest. There is one man who loves her true. Red, oh red, is the stain of gore. He hath dug a grave by the darksome yew. One grave will do for 4. No moon in the still heaven, in the black water none. The sins on her soul are 7, the sin upon his is 1. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Endymion by Oscar Wilde. Read for LibriVox.org by Kelly. The apple trees are hung with gold, and birds are loud in Arcady. The sheep lie bleating in the fold, the wild goat runs across the wold, but yesterday his love he told. I know he will come back to me. O rising moon, O lady moon, be you my lover's sentinel. You cannot choose but know him well, for he is shod with purple shoon. You cannot choose but know my love, for he a shepherd's crook doth bear, and he is soft as any dove, and brown and curly is his hair. The turtle now has ceased to call upon her crimson-footed groom. The grey wolf prowls about the stall, the lily-singing seneschal sleeps in the lily-bell, and all the violet hills are lost in gloom. O risen moon, O holy moon, stand on the top of Helicity, and if my own true love you see, ah, if you see the purple shoon, the hazel crook, the lad's brown hair, the goatskin wrapped about his arm, tell him that I am waiting where the rushlight glimmers in the farm. The falling dew is cold and chill, and no bird sings in Arcady. The little fawns have left the hill, even the tired daffodil has closed its gilded doors, and still my lover comes not back to me. False moon, O waning moon, where is my own true lover gone? Where are the lips vermilion, the shepherd's crook, the purple shoon? Why spread that silver pavilion? Why wear that veil of drifting mist? Ah, thou hast young Endymion, thou hast the lips that should be kissed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epigram by John Banks. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Young Courtly takes me for a dunce, for all night long I spoke not once. On better grounds I think him such. He spoke but once, yet once too much. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Tenebris by Oscar Wilde. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. Come down, O Christ, and help me. Reach thy hand, for I am drowning in a stormier sea than Simon on thy lake of Galilee. The wine of life is spilt upon the sand. My heart is as some famine-murdered land whence all good things have perished utterly. And well I know my soul in hell must lie if I this night before God's throne should stand. He sleeps perchance, or rideth to the chase, like Baal, when his prophets howled that name from morn to noon on Carmel's smitten height. Nay, peace. I shall behold before the night the feet of brass, the robe more white than flame, the wounded hands, the weary human face. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fishmonger by Marsden Hartley. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I have taken scales from off the cheeks of the moon. I have made fins from blue jays' wings. I have made eyes from damsons in the shadow. I have taken flushes from the peach lips in the sun. From all these I have made a fish of heaven for you, set it swimming on a young October day. I sit on the bank of the stream and watch the grasses in amazement as they turn to ashy gold, Are the fishes from the rainbow still beautiful to you, for whom they are made, for whom I have set them swimming? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Folly of Being Comforted by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. One that is ever kind said yesterday, "Your well-beloved's hair has threads of gray, and little shadows come about her eyes. Time can but make it easier to be wise, though now it's hard, till trouble is at an end. And so be patient, be wise and patient, friend. But heart, there is no comfort, not a grain. Time can but make her beauty over again, because of that great nobleness of hers. The fire that stirs about her when she stirs burns but more clearly. Oh, she had not these ways when all the wild summer was in her gaze. Oh heart, if she'd but turn her head, you'd know the folly of being comforted." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Foreign Lands by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Tariq Yahya on February 13, 2021. Up into the cherry tree, who should climb but little me? I held the trunk with both my hands and looked abroad on foreign lands. I saw the next door garden lie, adorned with flowers before my eye, and many pleasant places more that I had never seen before. I saw the dimpling river pass, and be the sky's blue looking glass. The dusty roads go up and down, with people tramping into town. If I could find a higher tree, farther and farther I should see, to where the grown-ups river slips into the sea among the ships, to where the roads on either hand lead onward into fairyland, where all the children dine at 5 and all the playthings come alive. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Get Up and Bar the Door by Arthur Quiller Couch in the Oxford Book of Ballads. Read for LibriVox.org by Sandra. It fell about the Martinmas time, and a gay time it was then, when our good wife got puddings to make, and she's boiled them in the pan. The wind so cold blew south and north, and blew into the floor. Quoth our good man to our good wife, "Gae out and bar the door." My hand is in my hussey's cap, good man, as ye may see, and it shouldna be barred this 100 year. It's no be barred for me. They made a paction 'tween them two. They made it firm and sure, that the first word where'er should speak should rise and bar the door. Then by there came 2 gentlemen at 12 o'clock at night, and they could neither see house nor hall, nor coal nor candle light. Now whether is this a rich man's house, or whether is it a poor? But ne'er a word would one of them speak for barring of the door. And first they ate the white puddings, and then they ate the black. Though muckle thought the good wife to herself, yet ne'er a word she spak. Then said the one unto the other, "Here, man, take ye my knife. Do ye take off the old man's beard, and I'll kiss the good wife." But there's nae water in the house, and what shall we do then? What ails ye at the pudding brow that boils into the pan? Oh, up then started our good man, an angry man was he. "Will ye kiss my wife before my een, and scald me with the pudding brie?" Then up and started our good wife, gaed 3 skips on the floor. "Good man, you've spoken the foremost word. Get up and bar the door. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hunger by Leonard Fun. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gauntz. Menacing growl and coyotes howl rush on the wind of night, that crooning tune that very soon will change to cries of fright. A moon of gold in killing cold looks ghastly down below, where silent shack in dirty black lies cowering in the snow. And on the walls a shadow falls and slowly swings around, the song of death with bated breath the wailing wind dost sound. The body sways in grotesque ways and makes the shadows dance, while on the floor and crowding door the wolves watch in a trance. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I could not sleep for thinking of the sky, by John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. I could not sleep for thinking of the sky, the unending sky with all its million suns, which turn their planets everlastingly, in nothing, where the fire-haired comet runs. If I could sail that nothing, I should cross silence and emptiness, with dark stars passing. Then in the darkness see a point of gloss burn to a glow, and glare, and keep amassing, and rage into a sun with wandering planets, and drop behind. And then, as I proceed, see his last light upon his last moon's granites, die to a dark that would be night indeed, night where my soul might sail a million years in nothing, not even death, not even tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Incomprehensible by Isaac Watts, 1674 to 1748. Read for LibriVox.org. Far in the heavens my God retires, my God, the mark of my desires, and hides his lovely face. When he descends within my view, he charms my reason to pursue, but leaves it tired and fainting in the unequal chase. Or if I reach unusual height till near his presence brought, their floods of glory check my flight, cramp the bold pinions of my wit, and all untune my thought. Plunged in a sea of light I roll, where wisdom, justice, mercy shines. Infinite rays in crossing lines beat thick confusion on my sight, and overwhelm my soul. Great God, behold my reason lies adoring, yet my love would rise on pinions not her own. Faith shall direct her humble flight through all the trackless seas of light, to thee, the eternal fair, the infinite unknown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Irish Triads by an unknown author of the 9th century. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. These poems are in the public domain. 3 signs whereby to mark a man of vice are hatred, bitterness, and avarice. 3 graceless sisters in the bond of unity are lightness, flightiness, and importunity. 3 clouds, the most obscuring wisdom's glance, forgetfulness, half-knowledge, ignorance. 3 savage sisters sharpening life's distress, foul blasphemy, foul strife, foul-mouthedness. 3 services, the worst for human hands, a vile lords, a vile ladies, a vile lands. 3 gladnesses that soon give way to griefs, a wooer's, a tale-bearer's, and a thief's. 3 signs of ill-bred folk in every nation, a visit lengthened to a visitation, staring, and overmuch interrogation.
3 arts that constitute a true physician, to cure your malady with expedition, to let no after consequence remain, and make his diagnosis without pain. 3 keys that most unlock our secret thinking are love and trustfulness and over-drinking. 3 nurses of hot blood to man's undoing, excess of pride, of drinking, and of wooing. 3 the receivers are of stolen goods, a cloak, the cloak of night, the cloak of woods. 3 unions, each of peace a proved miscarriage, confederate feats, joint ploughland, bonds of marriage. 3 lawful handbreadths for mankind about the body be, from shoes to hose, from ear to hair, from tunic unto knee. 3 youthful sisters for all eyes to see, beauty, desire, and generosity. 3 excellences of our dress are these, elegance, durability, and ease. 3 idiots of a bad guest house are these, a hobbling beldam with a hoking wheeze, a brainless Tartar of a serving girl, for serving boy a swinish lubber churl. 3 slender ones whereon the whole earth swings, the thin milk stream that in the keeler sings, the thin green blade that from the cornfield springs, that thin grey thread the housewife's shuttle flings. The 3 worst welcomes that will turn a guest house for weary wayfarers into a pest house. Within its roof a workman's hammer beat, a bath of scalding water for your feet, with no assuaging draught salt food to eat. 3 finenesses that foulness keep from sight, fine manners in the most misfeatured white, fine shapes of art by servile fingers moulded, fine wisdom from a cripple's brain unfolded. 3 fewnesses that better are than plenty, a fewness of fine words, but 1 in 20, a fewness of milk cows when grass is shrinking, fewness of friends when beer is best for drinking. 3 worst of snares upon a chieftain's way, sloth, treachery, and evil counsel they. 3 ruins of a tribe to west or east, a lying chief, false brehon, lustful priest. The rudest 3 of all the sons of earth, a youngster of an old man making mirth, a strong man at a sick man poking fun, a wise man gibing at a foolish one. 3 signs that show a fop, the comb track on his hair, the track of his nice teeth upon his nibbled fare, his cane track on the dust oft as he takes the air. 3 sparks that light the fire of love are these, glamour of face and grace and speech of ease. 3 steadinesses of wise womanhood, a steady tongue through evil as though good, a steady chastity whoso else shall stray, steady house service all and every day. 3 sounds of increase, kind that low when milk unto their calves they owe, the hammer on the anvil's brow, the pleasant swishing of the plough. 3 sisters false, I would, I might, I may. 3 fearful brothers, hearken, hush, and stay. 3 coffers of a depth unknown are his who occupies the throne, the church's, and the privileged poet's own. 3 glories of a gathering free from strife, swift hound, proud steed, and a beautiful young wife. The world's 3 laughingstocks, be warned and wiser, an angry man, a jealous, and a miser. 3 powers advantaging a chieftain most are peace and justice and an armed host. End of poems. This recording is in the public domain.
Irony by Louis Untermeyer. Read for LibriVox.org by Glenn Turner. Why are the things that have no death the ones with neither sight nor breath? Eternity is thrust upon a bit of dearth a senseless stone, a grain of dust, a casual clod, receives the greatest gift of God. A pebble in the roadway lies, it never dies. The grass our fathers cut away is growing on their graves today. The tiniest brooks that scarcely flow eternally will come and go. There is no kind of death to kill the sands that lie so meek and still. But man is great and strong and wise, and so he dies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I wake and feel the fell of dark, not day, by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. I wake and feel the fell of dark, not day. What hours, oh what black hours we have spent this night! What sights you, heart, saw, ways you went, and more must in yet longer lights delay. With witness I speak this. But where I say hours, I mean years, mean life. And my lament is cries countless, cries like dead letters sent to dearest him that lives, alas, away. I am gall, I am heartburn. God's most deep decree bitter would have me taste. My taste was me. Bones built in me, flesh filled, blood brimmed the curse. Self-yeast of spirit a dull dough sours. I see the lost are like this, and their scourge to be, as I am mine, their sweating selves, but worse. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Jack Frost's Happy Dream by George Martin. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. 1883. In his white world of snow by the northern pole, I can point the identical spot on the map. Jack Frost became weary of working, poor soul. So pulled up his collar and pulled down his cap, and stretched himself down in his hut for a nap. Soon snoring he lay, and he dreamt a fine dream of his antics abroad, of whole streets of glare ice, where stout ladies falling unthinkingly scream, and grey-bearded gallants exceedingly nice, making haste to assist them, are down in a trice. Of snowdrifts and sleigh-loads of people upset, roaring sports for the young, but a grief to the old, and flying toboggans, the jolliest yet, landing lovers in snowbanks, which out of the cold the laughing defiance a moment enfold. At length in his vision he noticed afar our crystalline palace in grandeur arise, till it gleamed in mid-air like a magical star, creation's last jewel, a thing of the skies, and he sprang to his feet in a whirl of surprise. He swallowed some ice cakes and mounted his steed, a storm that stood ready to serve at his call. Strong-winded and shod with such marvellous speed that he came like a rush of a huge cannon-ball, till he brushed the wide border of gay Montreal. At the Windsor alighting, Jack spied with amaze the palace translucent that rose in his dream, its opaline walls and tall tower ablaze with a light that outrivalled Aurora's first beam, and he laughed a huge laugh that was more like a scream. And he danced and cut capers around the wide square, like a harlequin, crowing at times like a cock, his hands on the snow and his feet in the air, till fatigued with its fun, on a glistening block of his own manufacture he sank with a shock. Then he chuckled and sneezed and profanely made boast, in spite of the churches that seemed to protest that he hoped in an orthodox fashion to roast, if our palace of ice was not truly the best that ever invited his limbs to take rest. "And there," said the fellow, "I mean to remain, till this carnival's over, and then I suppose I shall have to be off to the Arctic again, where the wind god his trumpet in merriment blows, and scatters my hail and my harvest of snows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river, ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground, with walls and towers were girdled round, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And here were forests ancient as the hills, enfolding sunny spots of greenery. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover, a savage place, as holy and enchanted as ere beneath a waning moon was haunted by woman wailing for her demon lover. And from this chasm, with ceaselessly turmoil seething, as if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift half-intermitted burst huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And mid these dancing rocks, at once and ever, it flung up momently the sacred river. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, through wood and dale the sacred river ran, then reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean. And midst this tumult Kubla heard from far ancestral voices prophesying war. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountains and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. A damsel with a dulcimer in a vision once I saw. It was an Abyssinian maid, and on her dulcimer she played, singing of Mount Abora. Could I revive within me her symphony and song, to such a deep delight 'twould win me, that with music loud and long I would build that dome in air, that sunny dome, those caves of ice. And all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, "Beware, beware, his flashing eyes, his floating hair! Weave a circle round him thrice, and close your eyes with holy dread. For he on honey-dew hath fed, and drunk the milk of paradise." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning, to where the cricket sings, there midnights all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray, I hear it in the deep heart's core.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Longing for Springtime by George Logan Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. Haste, hoary winter, loose thy weary chains from the dull heavens and the deadened earth, that the soft blooms of flowers, the gladsome birth of blossomy spring, may visit us again. No feathery leaflets flutter on the lime, no flower buds bursting gem the sward beneath, no songbirds warble with melodious breath, as in the joyous flush of summer-time. Thy touch hath chilled the greenness from the bough, robbed the still forest of its pleasing shade. Thy wild breath swept the flowers from the glade, and birds have fled to balmier regions now. Then haste thee, in thine ice-wheeled car, away to the ice-carven deserts of the north, that the queen maiden Spring may venture forth, and gladden hill and meadow with her sway. In her soft hands a beaker brimmed with buds, on her soft lips a burst of youthful song. The sunshine in her shadeless eyes, among the sleeping boughs, shall quicken all the woods. Then shall the joyous merle amid sprays of pink-flushed hawthorn join the robin's glee, and the glad thrush sing softly from the tree, filling the clear air with his joyful lays. Then shall the stream make gentle murmuring in amber light between new-blossomed trees, and all the butterflies and golden bees winnow the warm air in the wake of spring. Along the green bank on the velvet sod, all bright with flowers, my daily walk shall be, and these shall turn my thankful heart to thee, their painter and their maker, who art God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lucy Lake by Newton Mackintosh. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. After Wordsworth. Poor Lucy Lake was overgrown, but somewhat underbrained. She did not know enough, I own, to go in when it rained. Yet Lucy was constrained to go. Green bedding, you infer. Few people knew she died, but oh, the difference to her. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Marlowe Chimes. Read for LibriVox.org by Ted Hanlon. Marlowe Chimes. Hear the voice of waters surly, note the foam rings crisp and curly, see the eddies twirly-whirly, listen to the hurly-burly, never ceasing, late or early. Oh, muse for a while by the tossing tide, 'tis good to ponder, to moon and dream, where the dimpled waters curve and glide to ceaseless song of the swirling stream. When to-day seems gone and the past seems near, as thoughts revert unto bygone times, while the sweet, sad music of Marlowe Weir is gaily gladdened by Marlowe chimes. Mid gleam and glow, as the flood runs by, the ripples redden, the foam flies fast, the sun sinks low, and the sea-green sky to twilight deepens, the day is past. While the lightsome laughter of yesteryear, the poem of youth with its reckless rhymes, seem mingled with music of Marlowe Weir, and find an echo in Marlowe chimes. Ah, where are the comrades of bygone days, and where are the joyous songs we sang? Where the magic charm of these waterways, when hearts were true and the glad chimes rang? Alas, there are few that remain to hear, though some are haunted in distant climes, by the matchless music of Marlowe Weir, and plaintive clangour of Marlowe chimes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mowing by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Cade Elder. There was never a sound beside the wood but one, and that was my long scythe whispering to the ground. What was it whispered? I knew not well myself. Perhaps it was something about the heat of the sun, something, perhaps, about the lack of sound, and that was why it whispered and did not speak. It was no dream of the gift of idle hours, or easy gold at the hand of fay or elf. Anything more than the truth would have seemed too weak to the earnest love that laid the swale and rose, not without feeble pointed spikes of flowers, pale orchises, and scared a bright green snake. The fact is the sweetest dream that labor knows. My long scythe whispered, and left the hay to make. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Boy by James Whitcomb Riley. Read for LibriVox.org by Audioways. You smile and you smoke your cigar, my boy. You walk with a languid swing. You tinkle and tune your guitar, my boy, and lift up your voice and sing. The midnight moon is a friend of yours, and serenade your joy. And it's only an age like mine that cures a trouble like yours, my boy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Lisa Alley. That's my last Duchess painted on the wall, looking as if she were alive, I call. That piece of wonder now, Frau Pandolf's hand, worked busily a day, and there she stands. Wilt please you sit and look at her, I said, Frau Pandolf by design, for never read strangers like you that pictured countenance, the depth and passion of its earnest glance. But to myself they turned, since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you but I. And seemed as they would ask me, if they durst, how such a glance came there, so not the first. Are you to turn and ask thus? Sir, 'twas not her husband's present only, call that spot of joy into the Duchess's cheek, perhaps. Frau Pandolf chanced to say, her mantle laps over my lady's wrist too much, or paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half flush that dies along her throat. Such stuff was courtesy, she thought, and cause enough for calling up that spot of joy. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on, and her looks went everywhere. Sir, 'twas all one, my favour at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the bough of cherries some officious fool broke in the orchard for her, the white mule. She rode with round the terrace, all and each would draw from her alike approving speech, or blush at least. She thanked men, good but thanked, somehow, I do not know, as if she ranked my gift of a 900-year-old name with anybody's gift who stooped to blame this sort of trifling, even had you skill in speech, which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say just this or that in you disgusts me, here you miss, or there exceed this mark, and if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wit to yours forsooth, and made excuse. And then would be some stooping, and I choose never to stoop. O sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her, but who's passed without? Much the same smile. This grew. I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. There she stands, as if alive. Will please you rise? We'll meet this company below, then I repeat. The Count, your master's munificence is ample warrant that no just pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed, though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed, at starting is my object. Nay, we'll go together down, sir. Notice Neptune, though, taming a seahorse taught a rarity, which claws of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. End of poem. This poem is in the public domain. My Soul is Awakened by Charlotte Ann Bronte. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Lisa Alley. My soul is awakened, my spirit is soaring, and carried aloft on the wings of the breeze, for above and around me the wild wind is roaring, arousing to rapture the earth and the seas. The long withered grass in the sunshine is glancing, the bare trees are tossing their branches on high, the dead leaves beneath them are merrily dancing, the white clouds are scudding across the blue sky. I wish I could see how the ocean is lashing the foam of its billows to whirlwinds of spray. I wish I could see how its proud waves are dashing, and hear the wild roar of the thunder today. End of poem. This poem is in the public domain.
The North Wind's Message by Danford G. Britton. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Outside, the north wind howls and blusters as I sit by the friendly hearth, and a picture comes in the leaping flames from the land of the mystic north, where the silent trails lie dim and pale in the glistening ice and snow, and the hunger cry of the lean wolves wail, with the mercury 60 below. There the jack pine's ghostly shadows ripple the snowy path, while the gray clouds scud like a roaring flood from the north wind's howling wrath. And for those who travel the great white waste in the numbing cold and frost, death lies in wait, like the hand of fate. Stop fighting once, and you're lost. But though the trail may be hard and crooked, with many a twist and bend, there's gold at the foot of the rainbow for those who stick to the end. Though it's not so much what you win, if you lose it's about the same. But the test of a real man's mettle is, friend, are you still in the game? So when you're near discouraged and tempted to quit the fight, why, remember the test of the long grim trail in the Northland's Arctic night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Oh, may I join the choir invisible by George Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org. Oh, may I join the choir invisible of those immortal dead who live again in minds made better by their presence, live in pulses stirred to generosity, in deeds of daring rectitude, in scorn for miserable aims that end with self, in thoughts sublime that pierce the night like stars, and with their mild persistence urge man's search to vaster issues. So to live is heaven, to make undying music in the world, breathing a beauteous order that controls with growing sway the growing life of man. So we inherit that sweet purity for which we struggled, failed, and agonized with widening retrospect that bred despair. Rebellious flesh that would not be subdued, a vicious parent shaming still its child, poor anxious penitence is quick dissolved, its discords quenched by meeting harmonies, die in the large and charitable air, and all our rarer, better, truer self, that sobbed religiously in yearning song, that watched to ease the burden of the world, laboriously tracing what must be and what may yet be better, saw within a worthier image for the sanctuary, and shaped it forth before the multitude, divinely human, raising worship so to higher reverence more mixed with love. That better self shall live till human time shall fold its eyelids, and the human sky be gathered like a scroll within the tomb unread forever. This is life to come. which martyred men have made more glorious for us who strive to follow. May I reach that purest heaven, be to other souls the cup of strength in some great agony, enkindle generous ardor, feed pure love, beget the smiles that have no cruelty, be the sweet presence of a good diffused, and in diffusion even more intense. So shall I join the choir invisible, whose music is the gladness of the world. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Sale by Auction of Keats's Love Letters by Oscar Wilde. Read for LibriVox.org by Kaluna on February 27th, 2021. On the Sale by Auction of Keats's Love Letters. These are the letters which Endymion wrote to the one he loved in secret and apart. And now the brawlers of the auction mart bargain and bid for each poor blotted note. I, for each separate pulse of passion, quote the merchant's price. I think they love not art, who break the crystal of a poet's heart, that small and sickly eyes may glare and gloat. Is it not said that many years ago, in a far eastern town, some soldiers ran with torches through the midnight and began to wrangle for mean raiment and to throw dice for the garments of a wretched man, not knowing the god's wonder or his woe? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Oread by H.D. Read for LibriVox.org by Kaluna on February 6, 2021. Oread. Whirl up, sea. Whirl your pointed pines. Splash your great pines on our rocks. Hurl your green over us. Cover us with your pools of fur. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Oregon Snow by Anthony Ewer. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I'm glad I'm not in town today, for townfolk always have a way of hating snow. They stamp it off their feet and shake their clothes and cough and fume and curse every time it comes. It seems a crime to say you love it when it snows down in the town. Yet I suppose they're not to blame. It always brings a peck of ills and heartache things down in the town. There's such a lot of misery, so much that sleeps along until the touch of snow and cold wakes it again to sudden pain. You really can't blame folks a bit for hating snow and cursing it the way they do down in the town. It's natural to. But here, up here, it's driving white across the gray tree trunks. All night it fell and laid one blanket more upon the store we had. And I'm glad, for here, up here, it's not a crime to love the snow in winter time. It's hip deep in the clover field behind the barn. The woods there shield the sun. I took a jog on snowshoes with the dog across the ditch that marks the clover's edge into a straggling hedge of saplings. Only yesterday they were so cocky and so straight, each baby fir a prickly little grenadier. And now how vanquished! Every bough limp, beaten, crushed, as if the snow had said, "O stiff and upright little tree, how much of me do you suppose your arms will hold?" To which the tree made answer bold, "I am a young and husky fir. All you can give I'll hold, good sir." A rather glib and short retort, At which the snow was somewhat stirred. He took the sapling at his word. For so it looked, the way the snow had laid them low, swamped to their ears, those prickly little grenadiers. That's what it is to be so small and near the ground. But when you're grand and tall, you shake your boughs and let it fall in great cascades of blinding white, shot through with light or morning suns, spray after spray. The gray bolls sway with every windy gust that breaks to dust and flakes the tumbling clumps, baptizing brush and stumps. And huge heaped logs, a deluge white and dazzling bright. And still it snows and blows across the orchards in big drifts. But for the sunburst through the rifts of cloud today, it never quit. And when it goes away, this snow up here, it will be free from blame, for it will leave in beauty as it came. The sun will loosen all the bonds that bind the baby sapling's fronds close to the ground, and they'll rebound. The ice-locked creek will show its green and swirling eddies in between the marble bridges flung across its twisted banks of moss. Each day will see new colors peep, gray bark and green, the deep rich sheen of laurels, short stalky grapes, stiff jagged red, and twisted shapes of leaves turned russet, shriveled sere, still dangling from the stems of the dead year. All penciled bold against the bright cold snow, like patterns on a page of spotless white, and each new day will leave some strange blue arabesque upon the eastern range, drag streaks of ochre down the fields, and shade the purple brushlands deeper where they fade off to the west, and pools of melting snow will hold the winter evening sun's last splash of gold. These are the things God keeps in store for us up here, when in a few days more this snow, that's driving hard today, will melt away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Overheard on a Salt Marsh by Harold Edward Monroe. Read for LibriVox.org by Rachel May Ferryman. Nymph, nymph, what are your beads? Green glass, goblin, why do you stare at them? Give them me. No. Give them me. Give them me. No. Then I will howl all night in the reeds, lie in the mud and howl for them. Goblin, why do you love them so? They are better than stars or water, better than voices of winds that sing, better than any man's fair daughter, your green glass beads on a silver ring. Hush, I stole them out of the moon. Give me your beads, I want them. No, I will howl in a deep lagoon for your green glass beads, I love them so. Give them me, give them. No. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
O Wretched Man That for a Little Mile by John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. O wretched man that for a little mile crawls beneath heaven for his brother's blood, whose days the planets number with their style, to whom all earth is slave, all living food. O withering man, within whose folded shell lies yet the seed, the spirit's quickening corn, that time and sun will change out of the cell into green meadows in the world unborn. If beauty be a dream, do but resolve, and fire shall come, that in the stubborn clay works to make perfect, till the rocks dissolve, the barriers burst, and beauty takes her way. Beauty herself, within whose blossoming spring, even wretched man shall clap his hands and sing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ozymandias by Horace Smith. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Joseph Grimer. In Egypt's sandy silence, all alone, stands a gigantic leg, which far off throws the only shadow that the desert knows. I am great Ozymandias, saith the stone, the king of kings. This mighty city shows the wonders of my hand. The city's gone, naught but the leg remaining to disclose the site of this forgotten Babylon. We wonder, and some hunter may express wonder like ours, when through the wilderness, where London stood holding the wolf in chase, he meets some fragment huge and stops to guess what powerful but unrecorded race once dwelt in that annihilated place. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which still survives, stamped on those lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pippa's Song by Robert Browning. Recorded for LibriVox.org by Lisa Alley. The year's at spring and days at morn, mornings at 7, the hillsides dew pearled. The lark's on the wing, the snail's on the thorn, God's in his heaven, all's right with the world. End of poem. This poem is in the public domain.
Prologue to Alice by Lewis Carroll. Read for LibriVox.org by Tony Scheinman. All in the golden afternoon, full leisurely we glide, for both our oars, with little skill, by little arms are plied, while little hands make vain pretence our wanderings to guide. Ah, cruel three, in such an hour, beneath such dreamy weather, to beg a tale of breath too weak to stir the tiniest feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail against 3 tongues together? Imperious Prima flashes forth her edict to begin it. In gentler tones, Secunda hopes there will be nonsense in it, while Tertia interrupts the tale not more than once a minute. Anon, to sudden silence won, in fancy they pursue the dream child moving through a land of wonders wild and new, in friendly chat with bird or beast, and half believe it true. And ever, as the story drained the wells of fancy dry, and faintly strove that weary one to put the subject by, the rest next time, it is next time, the happy voices cry. Thus grew the tale of Wonderland. Thus slowly, one by one, its quaint events were hammered out. And now the tale is done, and home we steer, a merry crew, beneath the setting sun. Alice, a childish story take, and with a gentle hand lay it where childhood's dreams are twined in memory's mystic band, like pilgrims' withered wreath of flowers plucked in a far-off land. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Rag Bag by Nathalia Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. When we went down to Grandma's to visit our dearest kin, we asked for Grandma's rag bag that hangs in the garret bin. Oh, Grandma's frugal-minded from an old New England day, but you ought to see that rag bag and the things she threw away. There were gloves that had no fingers and hose of Highland clans. There were petticoats from Paris and Pekin's painted fans. Our fingers flew at random like bees at a flower stall, and we found that gown of Grandma's that she wore at the governor's ball. We carried it down from the garret, the Florentine flounces set, and we made our Grandma show us how she danced the minuet. Oh, Grandma's frugal-minded, and sometimes her foot goes down, but her riches she puts in the rag bag when we are coming to town. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Francesca Remick. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you." Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore." 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Seaward by George Logan Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. The long surf whitens up the bay, fringing the yellow sand with pearl, and tremulous the ripples sway to and fro, and flash and curl. They whisper softly to her feet, who lingers lonely on the sand, still looking seaward, with her sweet dark eyes o'ershadowed by her hand. Her loosened hair is backward blown, and brightens in the noonday light, and the fresh landward breeze has thrown soft color on her cheeks cold white. Is it to watch the sea-bird shoot on sunny wings along the foam she lingers with reluctant foot, all lonely from her cottage home? Is it to watch the waters fret and toss their snowy spume flakes free? Her tender long-lashed eyes are set so often to the windy sea. Is it to mark the mellow hue where the deep heavens and ocean meet, the golden melting in the blue so softly that she stays her feet? There is a bark with snowy sail and pennon fluttering in the wind, bright foam about her bows, a trail of broken waters far behind. She leans before the breeze, she flies bird-like with pinions widely set, and now in seaward-looking eyes heart-wearied shades no longer fret. Sail on, fair bark, amid the spray, sail on and safely shoreward run. Break on, soft ripples up the bay, and know, sweet maid, thy vigil done. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sheep by William H. Davies. When I was once in Baltimore, a man came up to me and cried, "Come, I have 1,800 sheep, and we will sail on Tuesday's tide. If you will sail with me, young man, I'll pay you 50 shillings down. These 1,800 sheep I take from Baltimore to Glasgow town." He paid me 50 shillings down. I sailed with 1,800 sheep. We soon had cleared the harbour's mouth. We soon were in the salt sea deep. The first night we were out at sea, those sheep were quiet in their mind. The second night they cried with fear. They smelt no pastures in the wind. They sniffed, poor things, for their green fields. They cried so loud I could not sleep. For 50,000 shillings down I would not sail again with sheep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song by John Banks. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Wine and beauty, both in turns, claim this foolish, roving heart. Wine relieves when beauty burns, love when wine does warmth impart. Still alternate may they rule, joined my fate should they conspire. Though they now each other cool, they'd be then like oil and fire. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Summons by Louis Untermeyer. Read for LibriVox.org by Glenn Turner. The eager night and the impetuous winds, the hints and whispers of 1,000 lures, and all the swift persuasion of the spring surged from the stars and stones and swept me on. The smell of honeysuckles, keen and clear, startled and shook me with the sudden thrill of some well-known but half-forgotten voice. A slender stream became a naked sprite, flashed around curious bends and winked at me beyond the turns, alert and mischievous. A saffron moon, dangling among the trees, seemed like a toy balloon caught in the boughs, flung there in sport by some too mirthful breeze. And as it hung there, vivid and unreal, the whole world's lethargy was brushed away. The night kept tugging at my torpid mood and tore it into shreds. A warm air blew my wintry slothfulness beyond the stars, and over all indifference there streamed a myriad urges in one rushing wave, touched with the lavish miracles of earth. I felt the brave persistence of the grass, the far desire of rivulets, the keen, unconquerable fervor of the thrush, the endless labors of the patient worm, the lichen's strength, the prowess of the ant, the constancy of flowers, the blind belief of ivy climbing slowly toward the sun, the eternal struggles and eternal deaths, and yet the groping faith of every root. Out of old graves arose the cry of life. Out of the dying came the deathless call. And thrilling with a new sweet restlessness, the thing that was my boyhood woke in me. Dear foolish fragments made me strong again. Valiant adventures, dreams of those to come, and all the vague heroic hopes of youth, with fresh abandon, like a fearless laugh, leaped up to the face of heaven's unconcern. And then veil upon veil was torn aside. Stars, like a host of merry girls and boys, danced gaily round me, plucking at my hand. The night, scorning its stubborn mystery, leaned down and pressed new courage in my heart. The hermit thrush, throbbing with more song, sang with a happy challenge to the skies. Love and the faces of a world of children swept like a conquering army through my blood, and beauty, rising out of all its forms, beauty, the passion of the universe, flamed with its joy, a thing too great for tears, and like a wine poured itself out for me to drink of, to be warmed with, and to go refreshed and strengthened to the ceaseless fight, to meet with confidence the cynic years, battling in wars that never can be won, seeking the lost cause and the brave defeat. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Temper by George Herbert. Read for LibriVox.org by Joanna Michael Hoyt. How should I praise thee, Lord? How should my rhymes gladly engrave thy love in steel, if what my soul doth feel sometimes, my soul might ever feel? Although there were some 40 heavens or more, sometimes I peer above them all. Sometimes I hardly reach a score. Sometimes to hell I fall. Oh, rack me not to such a vast extent. Those distances belong to thee. The world's too little for thy tent, a grave too big for me. Wilt thou meet arms with man, that thou dost stretch a crumb of dust from heaven to hell? Will great God measure with a wretch? Shall he thy stature spell? Oh, let me, when thy roof my soul hath hid, oh, let me roost and nestle there. Then of a sinner thou art rid, and I of hope and fear. Yet take thy way, for sure thy way is best. Stretch or contract me, thy poor debtor. This is but tuning of my breast to make the music better. Whether I fly with angels, fall with dust, thy hands made both, and I am there. Thy power and love, my love and trust, make one place everywhere. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"'Tis said that some have died for love, by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Algie Pug. 'Tis said that some have died for love, and here and there a churchyard grave is found in the cold north's unhallowed ground, because the wretched man himself had slain, his love was such a grievous pain. And here is one whom I 5 years have known. He dwells alone upon Helvellyn's side. He loved. The pretty Barbara died, and thus he makes his moan. 3 years had Barbara in her grave been laid, when thus his moan he made. Oh, move thou cottage from behind that oak, or let the aged tree uprooted lie, that in some other way yon smoke may mount into the sky. The clouds pass on, they from the heavens depart. I look. The sky is empty space. I know not what I trace, but when I cease to look, my hand is on my heart. Oh, what a weight is in these shades! He leaves. When will that dying murmur be suppressed? Your sound my heart of peace bereaves, it robs my heart of rest. Thou, thrush, that singest loud and free, in yon row of willows flit, upon that alder sit, or sing another song, or choose another tree. Roll back, sweet rill, back to thy mountain bounds, and there for ever be thy waters chained. For thou dost haunt the air with sounds that cannot be sustained. If still beneath that pine tree's ragged bough headlong yon waterfall must come, oh, let it then be dumb. Be anything, sweet rill, but that which thou art now. Thou eglantine, whose arch so proudly towers, even like a rainbow spanning half the vale, thou one fair shrub, oh, shed thy flowers, and stir not in the gale. For thus to see thee nodding in the air, to see thy arch thus stretch and bend, thus rise and thus descend, disturbs me, till the sight is more than I can bear. The man who makes this feverish complaint is one of giant stature, who could dance equipped from head to foot in iron mail. Ah, gentle love, if ever thought was thine to store up kindred hours for me, thy face turn from me, gentle love, nor let me walk within the sound of Emma's voice, or know such happiness as I have known to-day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Truth by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. A rock for ages, stern and high, stood frowning 'gainst the earth and sky, and never bowed his haughty crest when angry storms around him pressed. Morn springing from the arms of night had often bathed his brow with light, and kissed the shadows from his face with tender love and gentle grace. Day, pausing at the gates of rest, smiled on him from the distant west, and from her throne the dark-browed night threw round his path her softest light. And yet he stood unmoved and proud, nor love nor wrath his spirit bowed. He bared his brow to every blast, and scorned the tempest as it passed. One day a tiny humble seed, the keenest eye would hardly heed, fell trembling at that stern rock's base, and found a lowly hiding place. A ray of light, a drop of dew, came with a message kind and true. They told her of the world so bright, its love, its joy, and rosy light, and lured her from her hiding place to gaze upon earth's glorious face. So, peeping timid from the ground, she clasped the ancient rock around, and climbing up with childish grace, she held him with a close embrace. Her clinging was a thing of dread, where'er she touched a fissure spread, and he who breasted many a storm stood frowning there, a mangled form. A truth dropped in the silent earth may seem a thing of little worth, till spreading round some mighty wrong, it saps its pillars proud and strong, and o'er the fallen ruin weaves the brightest blooms and fairest leaves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
"'Twas Ever Thus" by Henry Sambrook Lee. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Scher. After Moor. I never reared a young gazelle, because, you see, I never tried. But had it known and loved me well, no doubt the creature would have died. My rich and aged Uncle John has known me long, and loves me well, but still persists in living on. I would he were a young gazelle. I never loved a tree or flower, but if I had, I beg to say, the blight, the wind, the sun, or shower would soon have withered it away. I've dearly loved my Uncle John, from childhood to the present hour, and yet he will go living on. I would he were a tree or flower. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ultima Veritas by Washington Gladden. Read for LibriVox.org by Devorah Allen. In the bitter waves of woe, beaten and tossed about by the sullen winds that blow from the desolate shores of doubt, when the anchors that faith had cast are dragging in the gale, I am quietly holding fast to the things that cannot fail. I know that right is right, that it is not good to lie, that love is better than spite, and a neighbor than a spy. I know that passion needs the leash of a sober mind. I know that generous deeds some sure reward will find, that the rulers must obey, that the givers shall increase, that duty lights the way for the beautiful feet of peace. In the darkest night of the year, when the stars have all gone out, that courage is better than fear, that faith is truer than doubt. And fierce though the fiends may fight, and long though the angels hide, I know that truth and right have the universe on their side, and that somewhere beyond the stars is a love that is better than fate. When the night unlocks her bars, I shall see him, and I will wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ursius Exit by Austin Dobson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Scher. I intended an ode, and it turned to a sonnet. It began a la mode. I intended an ode. But Rose crossed the road in her latest new bonnet. I intended an ode, and it turned to a sonnet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Very Good Reason by Joseph Ashby Sterry. Read for LibriVox.org by Ted Hanlon. A Very Good Reason. Aboard a skiff beneath the trees the singer was a panter, and asked a wilful maiden why she wore a tam o' shanter. She gazed upon his sunburnt face, half doubting if he chafed her. Then noting well his solemn mien, she answered thus with laughter. Let others wear aboard a boat the Rubens hat or bonnet, the merry widow, when afloat, with ample plumes upon it, the beef-eater of quaint design, the flower-pot or planter. But as for me, I'm more inclined to wear my tam o' shanter. Let others sport the fluffy hat, the sailor boy or granny, the bargee or some other that is anything but canny. If petticoats be short or long, or fuller be or scanter, or if you think it right or wrong, I'll wear my tam o' shanter. I'll wear it if it's hot or cold, let weather what it may be. Will this child do what she's told? or is she quite a baby? I do not care for my mamma or cousin Charlie's banter. Despite the chaff of dear papa, I'll wear my tam o' shanter. You ask me if I'll tell you why I cannot do without it. Because it keeps me cool and dry. You seem inclined to doubt it. The reason why? There, pray don't tease. I'll tell you that instanter. The reason is because I please to wear my tam o' shanter. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Visit of the Skulls by Leonard Fun. Read for LibriVox.org by Andrew Gauntz. The leering skulls float round my bed like lonesome yellow moons, and tell their tales of lives long sped in melancholy tunes. Each with its woes and foregone dreams displays its life to me, like some weary wandering streams that never reach the sea. But one hangs back and looks away as soft as scented glove. Tell me, I cried, your life, I pray. I lived and died of love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
What is this life which uses living cells? By John Masefield. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. What is this life which uses living cells? It knows not how nor why, for no known end. This soul of man, upon whose fragile shells of blood and brain his very powers depend. Pour out its little blood, or touch its brain, the thing is helpless, gone, no longer known. The carrion cells are never man again. No hand relights the little candle blown. It comes not from without, but from the sperm fed in the womb. It is a man-made thing that takes from man its power to live a term, served by live cells, of which it is the king. Can it be blood and brain? It is most great. Through blood and brain alone it wrestles fate. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Which Are You by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. There are two kinds of people on earth today. Just two kinds of people, no more I say. Not the sinner and saint, for it's well understood. The good are half bad, and the bad are half good. Not the rich and the poor, for to rate a man's wealth, he must first know the state of his conscience and health. Not the humble and proud, for in life's little span, who puts on vain airs is not counted a man. Not the happy and sad, for the swift flying years bring each man his laughter and each man his tears. No, the two kinds of people on earth, I mean, are the people who lift and the people who lean. Wherever you go, you will find the earth's masses are always divided in just these two classes. And oddly enough, you will find too, I ween, there's only one lifter to 20 who lean. In which class are you? Are you easing the load of overtaxed lifters who toil down the road? Or are you a leaner who lets others share your portion of labor and worry and care? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Why I Love Thee by Sadakichi Hartman. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Why I love thee? Ask why the seaweed wanders, why the shore is aflush with the tide, why the moon through heaven meanders like seafaring ships that ride on a sullen, motionless deep, why the seabirds are fluttering the strand where the waves sing themselves to sleep, and starshine lives in the curves of the sand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Young Night Thought by Robert Louis Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Tariq Yahya on February 13, 2021. All night long and every night, when my mama put out the light, I see the people marching by, as plain as day before my eyes. Armies and emperors and kings, all carrying different kinds of things, and marching in so grand a way, you never saw the like by day. So fine a show was never seen at the great circus on the green, for every kind of beast and man is marching in that caravan. At first they move a little slow, but still the faster on they go, and still beside them close I keep, until we reach the town of sleep. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.